I'm always looking for ways to show my cat how much I love her. And with Fancy Feast gems, I can pamper her whenever I want with a savory gravy on top of a gourmet mousse pâté. The pyramid shape makes serving simple, so all I have to do is peel and plate to make mealtime feel extra fancy. And with 2 entrees in every pack, it's easy to turn every day into the extraordinary. Fancy Feast gems.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
Finished training for the day? Time to fight post-workout fatigue with Core Power Protein Shakes. They're packed with 26 grams of high-quality protein to build muscle and electrolytes to help hydrate. The nutrition you need to help your body replenish, rebuild, and repair post-workout so you can power on to the next one. Champion your recovery with Core Power. Visit corepower.com to learn more.
Hey, Tom, other than ice chips, what is your favorite frozen food or frozen dish?
I'm going to go with the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Sundae from Friendly's, which is a chain in New England, started in New England, now it's making its way nationwide.
The answer is, pursuant to season 21 of Top Chef, frozen custard in Milwaukee, Wisconsin from Kopp's Frozen Custard.
That was so predictable.
This is Pack Your Knives. I'm Kevin Arnovitz.
And I'm Tom Haberstroh.
So, Tom, today we are reviewing episodes 7 and 8 of the Bears season. One is called Legacy. The other is called Ice Chips. I do have those titles correct, I believe. They're not in front of me. And I think it sort of, a season of television takes on an identity after a certain point. What is this season about? What is it trying to say? It is sort of it's like an album. You can talk about specific songs, but then you also have to talk about the season or the album as a whole product. I mean, that used to be more common, I think, prior to the digitization of the music industry. And I think of TV as the same way. And I kind of want to just throw it to you first. Like, I do think these episodes were kind of frustratingly representative of the season, the things I've liked and not liked.
So I think in terms of what's the theme of this season, I think it's a lot of it is wrapped up in that title of legacy, what you leave behind, generational inheritance, all that seems in these 2 episodes with the title of legacy. I don't know if the entire episode is really about that. But what you get a lot from this season is more character development than plot development. And that is pretty frustrating, is coming off of the Tina episode. We don't really get much in this legacy episode. We get a big moment in terms of the offer from Adam Shapiro to Sydney. But I really thought that Legacy was a forgettable episode. It was one that just seemed like 15 mini scenes where they're all over the place. There wasn't really much through line. And I think when the Bear is at its best is when it's, some of the best moments in the Bear is like one shot. The entire episode, I think it was in season 1, they just did an entire episode of one shot, kind of like Goodfellas. And yeah, Maze is saying episode 7. Having these like mini little scenes in Legacy and then basically 2 scenes or 3 scenes, I should say, in Ice Chips, for those who were complaining about how little this season is kind of going anywhere, or we want to be in the kitchen or some sort of plot, this has got to be a pretty frustrating junction in The Bear season 3. 7 and 8, 6, 7, and 8. I really feel like, man, we kind of haven't really gotten anywhere. What are your thoughts?
Right, and we've talked about this, and I think this is the prominent conversation topic for most people and a lot of fans about the show is, okay, there's an acceptance that we're not going to propel forward. And in some respects, I think what's so funny about The Bear this season is I think one of the things that plagues television in 2023, 24 and this era is there are too many shows that are too tied to propulsion as their end all be all. And it is just like, make it propulsive. And a lot of these sort of spy shows, I mean, Eric and I, my partner and I, you know, we watched like the first 4 episodes of The Veil with Elizabeth Moss. Well, what's not to like? It's a spy international thing, and Elizabeth Moss, who doesn't love Elizabeth Moss? You know, I think the need for propulsion over breathing, right? And the opposite of propulsion would be the way that like Queen's Gambit, which is just a brilliant series, Scott Frank, starts, where it's like you just kind of, you live and breathe and kind of hang out with the main character before you set things into action. And it is this constant give and take, right? We're going to propel plot forward, and then we're going to take a breath. It's like doing intervals when you're training for running or swimming or whatever it is you do, right? And I think that, like, so in some respects, what plagues the Bear is not this season is not what plagues most shows. I mean, I think if anything, it's gone anti-propulsive. You're absolutely right. There is essentially one scene and maybe 1.5 if you want to get to, okay, we're gonna put Natalie into motion toward her first contraction and into labor. But really, you know, other than the, hey, there's an offer on the table for Sydney, there's just nothing propelling the plot forward. And then I always have this guilt that, oh, that's what a very basic person would complain about a show. Yeah. If you appreciate good television, and, oh, Kevin, aren't you a huge Deadwood fan? And of course I am. And well, that show had plenty of moments where 2 characters are essentially in a stage play. Well, sure, but I mean, I'll take one. Let's take the legacy scene, right? Yeah, because the title refers to a scene where, you know, we've seen that Marcus is fascinated with the Carmy's library of notes and his sketches, and he's drawn a lot of inspiration for it. And you know, he opens it and it's legerdemain, right, which means sleight of hand in French. And pardon my pronunciation, Maze can dub that in.
Legerdemain.
You know, and hey, they're talking about legacy, and this is exactly the kind of scene that plays beautifully as an interstitial during an otherwise propulsive episode of television. Like this scene would be a wonderful interlude in an episode of television where something is happening, right? And then you kind of, this is your break, this is your breath. And I do guess it works on the heels of the offer being presented to Sydney. Like in some ways you could say, well, this scene comes right after Shapiro has said, hey, Sydney, do you want to work? Do you want to be my chef de cuisine in my restaurant? Like, you called it, Tom, by the way. You called it weeks ago prior to saying that this was going to be kind of the difficult decision for Sydney, that she would be offered an outside job, she would be poached. But, like, so now each of these characters, it's initially Marcus, it's Carmy, obviously. Sydney walks in. What is your legacy? And it was very representative of the characters. You could say these were wonderful character winners, because for Marcus, my legacy is keep my chin up, and I listened and learned and worked honestly and was an excellent emergency contact, right? And for, you know, and for Sydney, it was, oh, I just got to get through Wednesday. Like, she's not even thinking about legacy. And for Carmy, it was, you know, I want it to be toxic free and frictionless.
Do you believe him?
This isn't a bad scene. One of the reasons I don't love this scene is I don't think we're learning anything new about these people, right? Like what did we look? Like, this is a scene. It's one of the longer scenes in the episode. It is revealing of character. These characters are each volunteering what legacy as a chef, or frankly more than a chef, is the implication, would mean. And we already knew that Marcus is the ultimate locker room guy, didn't we? We already knew that Sydney has a certain sort of, I got to get through the day, right? Like, I'm too young to be thinking about, I just need to literally, like, the demands of this job are such that it's almost ridiculous to think about legacy when I don't know if we're going to be able to get through service tomorrow, right? So that's Sydney. But we already knew that. And we already knew, frankly, that Carmy is a little delusional. We already knew that he, you know, that he's becoming the person he doesn't want to be and doesn't really fully realize it, and yet he still aspires to resist becoming that person. Like, so my issue with that scene, the scene that lends itself to the title of the episode, is, you know, for the big kind of profound character window scene, I didn't learn anything I didn't know about these 3 people. I learned that Marcus is a locker room guy. I learned that Sydney is sort of working with blinders on, just trying to get through the day. And I learned that, oh, go figure, Carmy doesn't want to become the asshole chefs that, you know, he worked under, and yet knows and is delusional and self-deceptive about the fact that he is. And so That's my issue, and that's my frustration. Is I just don't even think for this being what it was supposed to be, which is weighty. It didn't tell me anything new.
I felt that too. I wanted Sydney to have a different response. I wanted actually Sydney to sit there and think about or ponder the answer to that question. And maybe she would have given the same question is like, fucking, I don't know. I got to figure out what's going to be on the menu tomorrow. I got to figure out what the fuck we're doing and all this stuff. And she's maybe pushing that away of like what she really wants. But Kevin, I'm with you. Is just I wanted that to feel heavier, and I wanted that to breathe a little bit more or have something interesting or surprising. I just found it bullshit with Carmi. I just was like, maybe that's what he wants his legacy to be, but I just like, you can say that's what you want your legacy to be, but I don't believe him. I think he truly, his legacy, he wants to have an amazing restaurant.
Right, exactly. And that's the other thing you're talking about. He's self-deceptive about the fact that he is toxic, but more, you're absolutely right. What he's most deceptive about is just being discreet. The truth is if you gave, what I hear you saying, Tom, is if you gave Carmi door number 1, which is toxic-free, as he says, frictionless, but a restaurant that is good, not great, or even great, but not exceptional, or door number 2, toxicity, friction, and oh, by the way, you get in your 2 or 3 stars from Michelin. Is there any doubt right now that the Carmi we know would not take door number 2?
Right. And we know that it's door number 2 because later in the episode, Sydney walks in and is like, hey, making suggestions about the dishes or what's going to be on the menu. And he bulldozes her at every time. Every time. He's like, oh, no, we're going to go in this direction. Oh, you want to do this? No, I think the apricot's really working well. And it's clear that he is continuingly not abiding by his, what was that, exuberant collaboration? I forget what the word, but it's like this guy, it is toxic in a way that is going to push Sydney away. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that I've been yearning for this tension because Sydney is clearly struggling with like, is this a kitchen that I want to be a part of? It doesn't seem collaborative. He's not letting me cook. He's not even letting me voice any sort of opinion on a dish. And you get that at the very end where Natalie says to Sydney, hey, just fucking sign the agreement. Like, just fucking sign it already.
I love that is the last thing that Natalie says to another human before she goes into labor. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a very cold, very just one of these things that, Sydney is getting pushed away. And it's very clear that she is yearning for Adam, but she feels a certain loyalty because, she went into that kitchen at the Bear and wanted to become something and realized that maybe she will never get what she wants at the Bear. And I'm glad that this is happening, but did it have to happen in episode 7?
I'm with you, and I'll go even further. Even that scene, let's do Cavatelli, I'm thinking ravioli. Let's do Hamachi, I'm thinking Kanpachi. God, that sounds like a great Broadway musical. I'm thinking Hamachi, you're thinking Kanpachi. Sydney's like, hey, let's do the cherry sauce. Carmi's like, no, apricots.
Yeah.
Which means that this episode must be taking place in June, because that's stone fruit season with the ribeye. But even beyond that, like, I got to be honest. Like, I got annoying network notes, I guess. We've seen this scene. We've seen the scene where, we did it, saw it in episode 2, if I recall, right? Like, and maybe I've got that wrong, but just we've seen, like, if you want to demonstrate that Sydney is not being creatively fulfilled, that she is not being allowed to realize the level, to put her handprint on this menu, this operation, the vision for the restaurant as she was promised. Let's be a little more creative. I mean, again, I've seen this scene where, let's do this. Oh, I'll do that. Like, there's no real conflict. It kind of is low simmering. Not everything needs to be a shouting match. So I actually applaud it for that. But this also strikes me as this is an episode that should have been about. There should have been, we basically got 2.5 beats of Sydney. What is Sydney going to do? What is Sydney going to do? Right? It's set up very nicely in the Shapiro scene, right? She has an offer, right? That advances the plot down 5 yards down the field. Okay, what's next? We get a half beat with legacy, right? That's an interesting character window. It does speak, that scene legacy does speak in a marginal way to Sydney's to Sydney's issue. And then we get the let's do cavatelli, no, let's do ravioli. This is what happens when you're spending 2 whole scenes in a 27-minute episode.
I know.
On the fucking Fock brothers.
What are we doing?
Shot selection, Tom. There's 26 minutes and 45 seconds of screen time in this episode, okay? And any television show, how you're going to spend those 26 minutes is key. You know what? It's like every second counts, the bear. Every second counts.
Yeah.
If you were spending 2.5 pages with, I don't even know who that other, they all look alike. I don't care. There's nothing I'm less interested on television right now than the Fock brothers. I don't, and again, I feel bad because I bet these are great comics, and I bet in any other context I'd enjoy their work. I'm not like, this is, but it is confounding to me in a show that has 26 minutes and 45 seconds that is set up quite nicely one of their most interesting characters with a true dilemma and conflict, which is being offered something that seems far more real than the situation she's currently in, where the promises have been great. And that should be this episode. If you're going to how about this? If you don't want to advance that plot, at least give me more Sydney. Like, give me 2 more beats of Sydney other than, listening to her father say, okay, something's wrong with the apartment. Like, put her on a date. She's got something else going on. My point is that I just like the shot selection, and I just want to go on a rant here for a second. Like, I've heard people say that, hey, the show was designed for 3 seasons. They asked for a 4th. I don't know if this is a case where that 4th season, which was the 3rd season, was already written in the room, and then they had to go back and write 10 episodes like they already had that season written, and maybe this has been reported, and I just haven't looked thoroughly enough. There's other things you can do. Like, if we're going to, and I just am confused. It doesn't tell me why I'm watching the Fock brothers. I don't even know what they're talking about. This notion of haunt is a bong hit dorm room idea that has now been given more life on this show than the central conflicts of the central characters. And I'm just here to say I have so much reverence for the show, and nothing's going to push me off it. I just feel like a frustrated fan with a team I love that's not playing well right now. And it's not about, poor bear, they had to go back and kind of create some filler. Well, create better filler. I don't need to watch 2 whole freaking seasons. I don't know what these people are talking about. This is kind of this sort of Chicago bro humor that doesn't do anything, I think, for most viewers. And nowhere is anyone saying, Tom, in the conversation, you know what I really wish we would do? An entire Fock Brothers episode. You know what I wish is 2 scenes? How about 4 scenes? And when they, again, it's a question of shot selection. It's a question of what are you going to do with the 26 minutes and 45 seconds. Every second counts, but apparently not.
Amen. As someone who liked the facts, I think at the end of last season, or maybe at the beginning of this season, and wanted more of them, this is like having I really like Jordan Poole, and then realizing when your whole team is built around Jordan Poole, you're like, Jesus, I can't watch this anymore. The Fox brothers are nice little sweeteners here and there, but they should not be the coffee. And for most of the legacy, I was like, okay, I guess there's some sort of metaphor in that the cabin story with the Fax and Uncle whatever his name is coming in. But I didn't, and then the haunting, I'm with you, Kevin. The haunting was cool for maybe like a line. And then it's been 2 whole episodes where we're pushing this haunting thing. And if you want to use the metaphor of Donna, Dee Dee is the haunting of this entire family, that she's this overarching ghost that hangs over not just her kids, but also the entire restaurant. Okay, but we don't need to belabor it or hammer it over every episode, where now we've got the Fax brothers asking other people about hauntings. And it just seems, I don't know, like, I like Sweeps as a character, but when we have this like whole baseball scene, which I found like cool, like I loved it because I'm a sports fan. It was cool to hear them talk about like really nitty gritty baseball stuff and like the steroid problem and all this, taking a drug that was offered as a supplement from your trainer and then getting, your career ended. Cool. But this entire episode of Legacy, Kevin, felt like filler to me, that they were like, shit, we have 10 episodes and we've got the napkins episode and we've got the other bottle episode of Donna and Natalie. What are we going to put in between there? Because didn't it, like all the scenes, it just seems so almost like extraneous. Like I didn't need to know about sweeps and the Fact brother like realizing, oh my God, like you played baseball, cool, bro. I should be the one who likes the Facts brothers and all the airtime and oxygen they're getting, but I'm out. I'm with you, and you were early on this, and I've come over to your side.
Okay, I'm going to ask like a completely dorky question. Okay, I don't know if you and your family play board games, or like these advanced, very sophisticated board games that have been invented since we were kids. There's so many of them. There's a board game called Dominion.
Oh, right.
And there are two kinds of action cards. One is action cards that allow you to continue. It says +1, +1, and so you flip another card and another card. And then there are some very valuable cards, however, they're terminal, which is they don't allow you to continue the turn. And one of the keys to the game strategically is that you need a mix. You can't play with just the +1s because then you're just dealing into affinity, but you never get to a destination. But you also can't have, even these cards individually are all very valuable, but they need glue between them, right? And again, I feel like this is a show right now that is all terminal cards. Again, like maybe we'll come back to sweeps. By the way, a character that I don't think even fans of the show could have told you his name unless they were kind of real serial viewers.
I had to look it up. Sorry.
Right. I had to look it up too. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Who is this guy? And again, I mean, I don't want to impugn the character, but again, it is a question of shot selection. It is a question of how are you allocating your minutes? How are you allocating your pages? And I don't want to hit this too hard. But you know, I just feel like if you asked an interesting rhetorical question, right? Like this is how you're going to spend the scenes. Like, how about we go home with Sydney somewhere other than her dad? Like, does she go on dates? Does Sydney go on dates? This is a question I have.
Yeah.
I don't even know her sexual identity. It's very possible she is a lesbian. It's very possible she likes men. It's very possible she likes both. Is she asexual? I don't know. That's interesting to me. If you're going to, this notion that the show has a lot of filler because they had this 4th season, not all filler is created equally. And the reason I say this is I say this with respect to the show. They've created one of my favorite characters. Sydney is one of my favorite characters of television in recent years. And I've only been home with her to see her delightful father, who nevertheless, it's been the same scene.
Yes.
Every time, right? Like, what's going on with the radiator? It's like it is a very familiar dynamic that even that has not really been advanced much. I don't know. We're going to spend 2 scenes on the Facts. I have a better idea. Maybe she's too busy to date, so this is a terrible idea. But like, let's go on a date with Sydney. Let's go somewhere with Sydney. What is she doing on her day off? Does she not have day offs? And if she doesn't, there've got to be, if she's spending 70 hours a week in the restaurant, what I'm asking you is for the 2 most interesting minutes we haven't seen. Surely the 2 most interesting minutes of Sydney's week, other than the scenes we've seen with Shapiro and the legacy scene and the conflict over the ravioli cavatelli, surely the next most interesting snippet from her life would be more interesting than the Fact Brothers. It would make better television. It would provide a better character window for a character we care more about. And I just think there's some fundamental whiteboard mistakes right now, Tom, with the show that cannot be dismissed as merely, they had a lot of they wrote the 4th season and then they had to go back. And maybe this is a segue into Ice Chips, because we've been talking now for 20 minutes about an episode that I think you and I agree had one takeaway, which is an interesting dilemma for an interesting character, and we shall see. And then this episode ends with Natalie essentially, headed to labor.
Let me tie a bow on legacy just for a sec here.
You bet.
1, statistically, this is the worst episode, according to IMDb.com, of this series.
Wow.
IMDb.com, the ratings.
Wisdom of the crowds, Tom.
I watched this episode like 2 weeks ago. By the way, I haven't watched 9 and 10.
Neither have I.
Right here, right now. I watched these 2 episodes 2 weeks ago, and then I watched them last night and this morning again, just to get my round 2 on both of them and recheck my notes and add some more notes. And I was like, I wonder where Legacy ranks all time on IMDb.com. And there's 28 episodes. It checks in at a 7.5, which is the lowest score of the viewers on IMDb.com.
In the context of IMDb, still a very good score for a piece of entertainment.
Exactly. There's some moments in Legacy that we want to hold on to and say this was a good propulsion into the show. So I just want to, for the record, note that our feelings on this episode, Legacy, that it was filler, that it was a lot of poor shot selection, that it felt just weightless and rudderless, all of those things. I mean, why did we need Sydney bouncing, in the dumpster, jumping on boxes for, a scene? Like, we get it. She's frustrated.
Because she's frustrated. Yeah. So much of this right now is like, it feels pro forma.
Yeah, there's that. Secondly, noting that I have not gotten past episode 8 and there's still 9 and 10. Do you think Sydney leaves?
I mean, I don't know, which is good. The show's doing its job. I don't know. Like, as her friend, I would tell her to run. Don't walk to Shapiro, right? I would just tell her, right? And yeah, granted, we've gotten a backstage pass to this nightmare, right? But I don't want to work with Carmy. Do you want to work with Carmy?
No.
Now, I understand why Marcus would. I mean, Marcus is at a different stage in his career, right? Like Marcus, there's an artistry that Carmy conveys that Marcus really kind of likes to marinate in, right? Like that is, he loves those books. He might not get that. Like Marcus wouldn't get that necessarily at Shapiro's joint. It's one thing actually I really do like about the show. I love that they kind of go back to the little library. But I'm with you, Tom.
I think this episode, she's as close to leaving as she's ever been. The offer, of course, makes us have that dilemma. It's actually a tangible offer. I liked that scene because it was, he was respectful to Sydney and the bear. He didn't want it to be a poaching, just like she did when she was walking down the back alley and asking, hey, you guys, and the guy, the chef owner, whatever, yells at her for trying to poach. There's a certain respect level, but he's giving her things that she's seeking, is the partnership, the benefits, the salary, all of it up front. But also, I think more than what Carmy can offer is that it's going to be her menu. He wants her to be the CDC and running the kitchen, etc. I think she leaves, but maybe not until season 4. I think season 4 is probably when she decides to leave, or maybe there's a cliffhanger at the end of season 3 where she has this blow up with Carmy. Finally, we get to the blow up that we've all been working towards, and it's been building and building and building. And maybe we finally get that that confrontation between the two. But I don't know. I feel like we're leaning towards Sydney leaving, and I would root for Sydney leaving because I think it would be the best thing for the show.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I was thinking about this in the context of one of our favorite shows, and my favorite show, which is Mad Men. Right. In some ways, if you want to, and again, this is one of the things that I think works about The Bear. Like there are some tried and true tropes and structures for dramatic television. Right. You have, especially in the last 25 years, sort of with the advent of the HBO style anti-hero. Right. Like Carmy is a classic anti-hero. Like he might not even be a good person. We don't know. He's clearly tormented and all that. Right. Is you have Don Draper and you had Peggy Olson. Right. And the dynamic is very similar. I mean, obviously, one is the creative genius. The other is insanely talented, a unique talent who came in through the side door, is a very aspirational character. So there are similarities. And Don / Carmy both see something in this apprentice, if you want to call it that, or this protege is probably a better term, that really inspires them. It's like, oh, this is one of the few people in the world who really gets what I want to do. And by the way, the protege also derives great inspiration from the creative talent. There's a reason Sydney walked through that door and said, hey, I want to work for you, right? And though she has called him a piece of shit for his behavior, we sense that I think if you asked her, she would say that doesn't change anything about his culinary artistry and what I have to learn from it. But you'll remember in that show, there was this sort of, that's what the money is for, and throws the, or actually I'm conflating two Mad Men scenes, but like there's a very, very just hurtful scene that prompts Peggy, who has had overtures from Cutler, Gleason, and Shaw, among other ad firms on Madison Avenue, to walk out the door. And yet I remember at the end of that season, oh God, I can't even imagine the show if you go into, Sterling Cooper Draper Price or whatever it's called at a given moment, and Peggy's not there. Like, how are they going to do the show? I was very concerned about the show's narrative, right? Narrative structure, right? I was concerned, like, if you take Peggy out of that office, it takes away so many of the dynamics in the scenes that I love about the show. My favorite scenes are with those people, and actually the show flourished. And so there's part of me that would love and frankly, would have loved to see Bear look more toward Mad Men in terms of how we're going to do this workplace drama that's about a brooding, tormented person who's got a haunted past and hurts people around him. And the firm is always on the cusp if they lose that one client, or, they're gonna die and they're gonna have to, I think it would have been a good template. And in that respect, Sydney is Peggy. And, I see a world where the show could have her leave and still work, where she's down the street at a rival restaurant. I think that could happen. I don't know that unfortunately, I don't know that they've created the richness in the workplace now, and I don't think they've really amped up the dynamics enough, as CJ said last week in our conversation. They haven't done much about the front of the house. Like, I don't know that they've created the conditions for the show to succeed that way. But it's that parallel has been striking to me, especially with this episode, was sort of, oh, Sydney's Peggy Olson, Carmi's Don Draper. Unfortunately, they're not spending enough time to really draw that distinction, but they should have.
Does Peggy leave at any point?
That's the thing. She leaves. She walks out and she goes to Ted Shaw's firm.
That's right. I think this show would struggle I think it maybe should, to bring in something new, some development, to have Sydney leave. I don't know if the Bear becomes almost irrelevant after that point.
It's irrelevant anyway.
Good point.
I don't mean to go sports talk on this, but it's irrelevant anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we're about to review an episode that takes place in a nursery or in a maternity room. Let me go with the disclaimers. I have not experienced the miracle of parenthood. I have not watched my spouse, nor have I given birth to anybody. It strikes me as one of the most profound, spiritual, painful. There's a reason why it is the subject of so many episodes of television and so many scenes in film. I imagine it is truly giving life. I mean, it literally. So I acknowledge that this is a monumental thing for, frankly, a more supporting character. Obviously, it's not the purpose of the episode. The purpose of the episode is to shed light on, as you aptly pointed out, kind of the haunt of their family, which is Donna. But the point is the Bears are relevant anyway. We don't do anything. We go with Tina. We go here. We go into the past. We have Montauk. We go spend more time in Al-Anon meetings. Like the Bear has become irrelevant. And to the extent it is, it's Marcus looking at some books. I mean, why not?
Hello, listener. It's Producer Maze here to talk to you about Quince and their cookware. Cooler nights mean cozy meals at home, and Quince's cookware has made fall cooking so much more enjoyable. Their pieces deliver the quality and performance of luxury brands, but at a price that makes sense. And they look gorgeous on the stovetop, too. No matter what item you need to complete your kitchen, Quince has you covered. With 5-ply stainless steel pots and pans, nonstick skillets, chef-quality knives, and even ceramic bakeware, which is perfect for cozy casseroles or Sunday roasts. And when you look at these prices, you might think, how is Quince doing this? How do they deliver high-quality items similar to high-end brands that are half the price? Well, let me tell you, they partner directly with ethical top-tier factories to cut out the middlemen and pass the savings on to you. And it's not just cookware. I got myself some bath sheets. That's right. When you're a tall man, you have to use bath sheets, not bath towels from Quince. It's like drying off with the cloud. It's incredible. Upgrade your kitchen for cozy fall meals with premium cookware from Quince. Go to quince.com/dings for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/dings, DINGS, to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/dings.
Listener, listen up. This is important, okay? I'm going to try to save you some money here. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. You may think like, oh, that's bad. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. Here's why I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for $15 a month. You heard that correctly. $15 per month. Ditch overpriced wireless and the jaw-dropping monthly bills. And of course, there are all these hidden fees and stuff, but at Mint Mobile, plans start at $15 per month. All the plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text. You're not doing like weekend and nighttime minutes or anything like that. And it's delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone. Don't have to get a new phone. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. I switched months ago. People have asked, did you actually switch? Yes, I actually switched months ago, and I don't know what to do with all this extra money. I've cheated the system here. I've rigged something. This is an Ocean's 11 situation where I'm stealing wireless from Mint. That's how good a deal it is. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/dings. That's D-I-N-G-S. That's mintmobile.com/dings. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
Hello, listener. It's producer Maze here to talk to you about Kindred. Now, close your eyes like Owen Wilson during a job interview and imagine a way to travel that feels personal, comfortable, and connected without the price tags and the sterile feelings of hotels or short-term rentals. Now open your eyes and stop using your imagination because Kindred has made it very real. That's exactly what they do. Kindred is a members-only home swapping network. It's not a hotel. It's not a short-term rental. It's a smarter way to travel where each stay feels like home. Here's how it works. With Kindred, your home is your ticket. You earn credits by hosting fellow Kindred members, and then you use those credits to stay in over 220,000 homes in more than 100 cities worldwide. There are no hotel costs or rental fees, just the credits that you've earned. Every stay comes with white glove service, 24/7 trip support, and $100,000 in host protection. Make it easier for you to travel and enjoy yourself and not worry about details. I've used Kindred and I found an amazing home for a weekend getaway in an idyllic location with amazing views and great ambiance. It had everything I needed. And the best part was, it cost me $0. So apply now at livekindred.com and use code DINGS to join for free. Plus, you'll earn 5 nights of travel credit just for signing up. That's right, that's 5 whole nights for free at livekindred, KINDRED.com, code DINGS, DINGS, livekindred.com, code DINGS.
Big news. Sephora is now on Uber Eats. So if you find yourself facing a beauty emergency, like needing a last-minute gift, or you're just out of your favorite mascara, again, don't panic. We got you. Order now and get $10 off on Sephora orders of $50 or more on the Uber Eats app. Order now. Offer ends October 30th. 1 order per customer. Additional terms apply. See app for availability. Delivery fees may apply.
Experience a membership that backs what you're building with American Express Business Platinum. Unlock over $3,500 in business and travel value annually with statement credits on select purchases from brands like Dell, Hilton, and Adobe, and other benefits. American Express Business Platinum. There's nothing like it. Based on total potential value of statement credits on select purchases and other benefits, enrollments required, monthly and other limits and terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum.
Chips. It is an episode I fucking loved.
Okay.
But I realized after I watched it, a lot of it was because of my own personal experiences. And I've watched my wife give labor to our 2 beautiful daughters, or go through labor and give life to our 2 beautiful daughters. I've also had some conflicting generational, I wouldn't call it trauma, but injuries, because I didn't know my grandparents. They died before I was born, and the horror stories that I've heard about my grandmother, my father's mother, very much similar to that moment when she asks Donna, like, hey, I don't remember your mother, and she says directly to her, you don't want to. I felt that in a way that taking myself out of this episode and viewing and watching this episode, I can see why this might have been the most controversial episode of the season. Like tomorrow, the very first episode, was controversial in a different way because of the artistry and the just the beautiful dreamlike sequence through his consciousness is very different than the action-packed yelling in the bear restaurant, right? So Kevin, I was curious looking, and this is why I brought up the stats earlier and researching, how people felt about certain episodes. I could tell after my first viewing of this, even though I was moved to tears at certain points because I've been in that room before, and I know these beats, and I could tell that Abby Elliott, the actress who plays Natalie, has 2 kids, and the writer for this episode is not Christopher Storer, it is Joanna Kalo, and Joanna Kalo has 2 kids. Okay, you clearly feel that in ways that they hit authentically in ways, in my opinion, what my experience has been like in those rooms. However, I was shocked to learn that The Hollywood Reporter has ranked The Bear 1 through 28, and this episode was number 6 out of 28. Top 6 episode out of the 28, and IMDb has this as 12th out of 28. So upper third around there, almost a top 10 episode in the Bears history. And I frankly think that this episode, above all else, was like an Emmy episode.
Emmy bait for a guest actress.
Emmy bait for Jamie Lee Curtis and Abby Elliott. Like, I don't think that this episode did much for the season. I don't think it did much for the Bear and our understandings of Sydney and Carmi, maybe a little bit with Carmi, but I totally understand. I am not out here saying this is one of the best episodes of the Bear, even though I was affected more about and emotionally impacted by this episode in ways that I was surprised at. But I can totally sympathize with people who are very frustrated after not just 6 and 7, but also 8 in conjunction. We haven't gotten any plot development, and it feels like we have really slammed on the brakes here in ways that is frustrating for those who have not gone through this, as you said, the life-changing moments, the spiritual aspect of this. I totally get it.
I think I didn't not enjoy the episode. Now, on my rewatch, I found myself kind of drifting and somewhat disinterested. I also allow for the fact that not every episode of television is for me.
Yeah.
We all have different cultural sensibilities. We all have different experiences. As I said, I've never enjoyed just the sheer joy and passion of watching my spouse give birth. Nor have I given birth, right? So yeah. I am enough of an adult to understand that, like, hey, not everything is going to be for you, right? And there's something very profound about this experience. I enjoyed the exploration of the mother-daughter dynamic in familiar ways. Let me get that thing off your cheek. I thought that it did a nice job as a stage play of, like, kind of the Pitocin being this, wonderful metaphor. There are these terrible experiences, and sometimes we offer these salves, these numbing agents, and, the debate every woman has to go through about, what, do I want the numbing agent? It'll make me feel better in the moment. It'll reduce pain. However, I'm going to fully experience, the wide breadth of the experience if I do have it. So, like, what do I do? What's important to me? And I love those conversations.
Yeah.
I think the question of, hey, how good is this episode? What, is it ranked 6th or 28th? Depends on how important one thinks it is to resolve the tension, the history, the absolute just, I would call it rancor, but whatever it is that Natalie / Sugar has to live with, all the pain she has internalized, the are you all rightness. I mean, one of my favorite moments of Fishes was when she finally asked the question almost reflexively, without thinking, just and the shot is on everyone else at the table shutting their eyes like this, like, oh, don't, you didn't.
Wincing.
Is it important for the show, again, in the spirit of shot selection, to spend 10% of the entire season, one episode, because that's all this is, on the resolution of that relationship, filling in more context? I would argue no. That doesn't mean it wasn't a good 35-minute stage play, because I enjoyed it. And I liked, if I was an Emmy committee, like, hey, I can't imagine we're going to see better performances from actresses in a comedy series. It's not a comedy series, but that's a different conversation. Donna's big fish tank in her hybrid city scene, with some good writing. And that's kind of where I'm at on a lot of these bottle episodes. You hear the tone, I'm like, yeah, it was good writing. Yeah, it was good. Good actresses.
But what the fuck are we doing? Yeah.
It goes back to the Tom Zillerism that I brought up last a couple weeks ago, which was you can win every transaction but lose in the aggregate, right? You can have every episode be a perfectly good stage play, but in the aggregate, it doesn't produce a compelling season of television. And again, I'm beating a dead horse. We've talked about this ad nauseum. But I don't think it was worth. I'll be honest with you. And I know the haunt and Donna and the fishes is sort of now the iconic. That and the forks, I guess, are the iconic episodes of the series, along with the premiere this year. It's such, what makes these people behave the way they're behaving. I mean, the bottom line is we aren't even watching Carm. I would think more of this episode. I mean, here's sort of the problem, right? That is an important question. Donna's power, resolving Donna's behavior, the hurt she has caused to these children, that she might have be one of the key ingredients to the precipitating event of the whole series, which is Mikey commits suicide. It would be better if we were actually observing behavior of Carmi, right? But again, if you actually itemize the scenes that we've seen through 8 episodes of Carmi, they're extremely limited, right? And so she's not really a haunt, right? I mean, she hangs over the series, but I want something a little more material. And this show has gotten very immaterial. And that's not an insult. It's just like it is about themes and ideas and backstory and context rather than, okay, what is this character doing today? What is he about to lose his shirt in this restaurant? Is he going to apologize to his girlfriend? But I would argue no. I would argue no. Like, if you want to do another bottle episode, I think there are, I mean, there are better ones to do. Then again, I'm not a woman who's given labor, and this is a profound experience. And if you can make the argument, Tom, that in the prolific history of television, this wonderful medium that has given us so much joy, scripted dramas are just our Shakespeare, our generation's Shakespeare. There's never been a better portrayal of childbirth than this. If you want to make that case to me, I suspect that's a very good case. And that alone might be reason to have the episode. If you're asking me the other questions, the answer is no.
To answer your first question, I've seen a bunch of movie scenes or television scenes that depict labor. Not every labor is the same. It's a snowflake experience. However, this one most closely matched my experience with our first daughter coming into the world, where it is a roller coaster. We think of it as like one build towards my water breaking and the baby comes out. It is not that. It is the roller coaster. There's ups. The contractions are fucking extremely painful and stressful. And you do hear those beeping noises because you hear the heartbeat and the contractions and the heart rate, all that. It is the most acute pain that I've ever witnessed my wife experience. And I know this because Kevin, right after one of the contractions was over at one point, Allison fell asleep like this.
That's funny.
She's screaming, doing that whole thing. Like, oh, this is so painful. And then...
I mean, you're saying that she passed out?
She was asleep, snoring.
Asleep, okay.
Her body had given out and said, we're done. We're taking a break. And she was snoring. She was so asleep in a moment's notice. And I turned to the nurse and I said, is this okay? Like, she's asleep right now. And she's like, this must be your first kid, your first childbirth. And I was like, yes. And she's like, yep, that happens. It takes so much of the body that I could not believe that she was instantaneously asleep, like in a slumber. And then the contractions a few minutes later happen again. And she like wakes up a little bit. She's like, all right, it's here. And then she goes through hell again. And then it's asleep. And then she's throwing up because the pain is so much. Like, that's when you watch this episode and the whole kind of mountain range of emotions and stuff, it's very real. It's like, it can get very tender. But what Richie said an episode ago, Kevin, where he's like, yeah, we just kind of chilled. That's real too. I played board games with Allison during the middle of her labor, where there's just like, there's dead time in between contractions. And that I didn't see that in the movies. like we were playing cards. My dad was in the room, like we were playing bananagrams, and it's such a weird experience. And so when she, in the moment, like when she's sweating and she's just like, oh my God, and she says that line, "This is so fucking weird," and it sends Donna into this stupor, this laughter. Yes, it is so fucking weird. Like, it is super fucking weird. And the tears and Kevin, when she is describing in the midst of the most pain she has ever felt, I don't think it's a coincidence, Kevin, that she asks or broaches the topic, which is the most painful topic between Donna and Natalie and between mothers, right? Between a mother and a daughter is, hey, now that you're going through this most painful thing, I'm going to ask the question, why... What is the thing you wanted to ask me about, or the thing I didn't say? And they broached the topic, which is, you didn't tell me you were pregnant. Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? Is it because you don't want me a part of your daughter's life or your kid's life? And she says, like, very matter-of-factly, in a way that I was hoping she would confront her mother and just say, like, you scared the living shit out of me. And she goes, oh, that's terrible. I scared you? And then probably my favorite line of the episode, she says, you scared all of us. And it was, wow. Like one of those moments of, wow, you really told your mother that you scared the living daylights out of us, all the kids. And Donna went from, in the beginning of the episode, Kevin, an absolute witch, a total tyrant. I can't stand the idea of watching 30 minutes of this woman just screaming at her daughter, calm down, this is going to calm you, he. And if I need to hear he one more time, I get it, it's nauseating. But I did want to ask you, Kevin, the arc of Donna in this episode, first 10 minutes, I thought she was irredeemable. That like, I can't, this is a horrible person, Donna is. But by the end of it, when she hugs Pete at the end and then realizes, like, I have to go on my way now. I've passed the baton. I've done my job. I felt for Donna in a way that I wasn't in the first 10 minutes. And I thought that was good character arc there. But to get back to the overarching question, do we need that? I don't know. But I was wondering your feelings about Donna in the first 10 minutes versus the final 10 minutes. And if you feel differently about her.
I think you could argue it was a little easy of a turn. I mean, everything we've known about this woman, everything we've been told, again, it's one of those kind of contradictory things. By some respects, this is worthy of 10% of the season because Donna is such a profound influence for the worst on this family. And yet, despite that larger than life torment that she has imbued all of her children with, one little conversation in the birthing room has turned her, presumably, is this it? Like, or is she on her way now? Now, the other thing is she a central character? Right now, because I think the interesting thing would be like, well, let's see, right? Anytime a villainous person, or not a villainous person, a problematic person in your life, let's say you have a good talk. They had a good talk, obviously, in the most dramatic of settings, the birthing room, the birth of her first grandchild, all that. As you said, Natalie got all that out there. I didn't want you to bring all that stuff. I didn't want all that stuff you bring with you, which is why I didn't tell you, is what she says, right? And, okay, I think the next thing, not unlike kind of the Al-Anon scene that we didn't talk about, actually, is sort of about the debate about apologies, right? Like, she basically apologizes, right? In 307, there's actually a nice kind of tying a bow from the if you remember, 307 opens after the Shapiro text, in an Al-Anon meeting where Carmi is watching a debate between two people about the value of apologies. One person says apologies, like, frankly, they don't do anything.
They're selfish. Yeah.
Like, the truth is I'm supposed to forgive her and I'm supposed to treat her like a hero that she's apologized. But the truth is the hurt she caused that she's apologizing for, I'm still living with every day. Mm-hmm. And then you have this woman who follows and says, no, you have no idea how hard it is to apologize. And the suggestion this woman makes is that you need to receive that apology with grace because it requires so much of the person making it, even though they are in the wrong, right?
Yep.
And it's a good debate. It's an interesting debate. Actually, I'm being unfair to 307 and killing the season that was a lovely scene. And it actually speaks to the next episode, which we watched, the ice chip, because what essentially Donna is doing is apologizing. But I think the thing you do with those people is, well, let's see. Right now, the question is, do we want to see? I mean, we've got 12 episodes left in the whole series. Do we care if Donna goes from being a nightmare to tolerable? Do we care if actually she backslides and, hey, there's something about a daughter giving birth that brings out the best in a mother, but the minute that child is in the world 6 months from now, Donna's back to being Donna, right? I guess I care. Is Donna going to reform as a mother? Is a interesting question, I guess. I don't know. I think the show has allowed for the room to explore that, since we're pissing away all this time with things like the Back Brothers. I don't that could have been. Is Donna going to make the way that she arguably helped destroy her eldest son? Will she, in the time of crisis for her younger son and for the daughter that she really tormented, will she make good? That is a compelling question, I guess. But we'll see.
She is a central character. Unfortunately, she is a central character because because Mikey and Carmy and Natalie have made it so.
No, she is a central presence. It's different than being a central character, right? Like that's my point, is she is a specter. She hovers, but she's not a character. I don't know about anything about this woman other than she drinks too much. She's an alcoholic who loves to cook, clearly imbued that love of cooking to her kids, and the reason they're running a restaurant. And she has this weirdo second husband, but she is a central presence. I don't think she's a central character. That's the difference.
Natalie says she wants her mother to get help, and she says, I'm trying.
Right.
And she says, I'm really glad you're trying. And so there is this moment of like, oh, this is different now, that like she's approaching her demons head on in a way that maybe she was reluctant to before. And maybe that is a turn in the story for Donna, is that she's actually getting help or actually encountering her issues head on in a way that she was resistant to before. So maybe, but there is that moment. I don't know if you felt this way too, Kevin, when you're watching. Did she actually call Pete? Did Donna actually call Pete about her wife's in labor? I was wondering the whole time.
Oh, the suggestion being that she wanted her all to herself.
All to herself. And that it was a selfish moment of like, fuck Pete, I'm going to be the hero here and the mother to bring in this baby.
That's really interesting.
And I was sitting there being like, Natalie, pick up the phone and make sure Pete is called, because I don't trust Donna that she called Pete.
That's interesting.
And so then once Pete shows up, there was this big relief for me, because I was like, oh, actually, she was being a good person there. She was putting aside her own maternal instincts of wanting to bring this baby into the world and to share these really lovely stories about how her kids were brought into the world, and what that tells us about each of the characters. And I do think there was some moments, not a lot. I wanted more of what explains Carmy, the face of this show, and the fact that his birth was a disaster. And just, I do think that does kind of, that detail helps us understand Carmy a little bit better. And the fact that Mikey just wanted to stay in the womb, and then Natalie looks at that moment and then they get emotional and it just sits there for a while, understanding that Mikey just wanted to be in the womb and wasn't ready for the real world. I think is an interesting just character development, propelling the story a little bit. It wasn't a ton. But once Pete shows up and then she goes into, the hallway, you kind of see those demons coming back. When she's at Fish's and she's saying, nope, nobody would care if I'm gone. Nobody would notice if I'm gone. There's a literal moment right there, a physical and emotional and spiritual moment where Pete arrives and then she has to leave. And it probably is coming all back, where it's like, if I'm gone, Natalie doesn't care. She's got Pete. I did my job, but you know what? If I left and she never saw me again, would she actually miss me? And then she has that moment. I actually like this, that we didn't see the birth. I feel like every time they try to show basketball being played in a basketball show, it takes away, it doesn't add. And I think that a lot of labor scenes showing the actual birth is not anything we need to do. But also it's cliche. It's, I don't know. half the time the baby's already like 2 years old coming out of, and very clean.
I remember like the 80s or 90s television, the child was like 6.
Yeah.
At least a full toddler coming out of the womb.
Hi, mommy. Wait a minute. That's a baby.
When we know they actually look like gerbils and like that's what they're supposed to look like.
Yeah. Very dirty, ugly gerbils. So the final scene, we don't even get to see the baby. We don't get to see anything. We're played out with the Ronettes. By the way, the Ronettes, if you want to learn the story of the Ronettes, go learn it because it is a very fucked up story of the Ronettes. But the songs are beautiful. Actually, for our first dance song, we considered a Ronette song for Alice and I's first dance song. My mom really wanted to do a Ronette song, Always Be My Baby. And it was actually her second choice, didn't end up being it. So when that song came on, Kevin, I was all in my feels in a way that I was like, no one else is this hitting as hard. But I'd imagine a lot of women or mothers out there watching this episode and crying throughout the entire thing because there is so much here about motherhood and about womanhood that I can't possibly feel. But I understand why this episode in its entirety hits a very different way. And I do think that, look, is this a good episode? I would say it's a good episode. If it was in a different part of this season, maybe it would land better with a lot of the audience. But I think people are very frustrated right now. And I understand that, being frustrated at Ice Chips at this point. Ice Chips, by the way, I hate when people chew on ice. It sends shivers down my spine.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm an ice chewer, and I've realized that in adult life that there are people sitting across from me who find it like fingers, nails on a chalkboard.
Yes.
Audible cilantro.
Yeah, audible cilantro for me. However, it's another note here that I could not believe they hit on this episode is that my wife has never eaten Ice Chips outside of the delivery room. And yet, Ice Chips, for whatever reason, it is the most glorious. It is like a Wagyu beef Big Mac with uni butter on top. So delicious. Oh, just so satisfying. Somehow, Ice Chips are this miracle food in delivery and childbirth. I don't understand it, but it hit that note too, where I was like, wow, for the first time, I'm seeing my wife chew on Ice Chips with a giant smile on her face. Like, what? How? I've never seen you enjoy Ice Chips. But yet, that's a thing. One thing I wanted to ask you, Kevin, there's in the beginning of the episode, by the way, Nat's driving a Porsche Cayenne, Porsche SUV.
Seriously?
Wow. Okay. Porsche. She's driving a Porsche. But in that scene, when she's calling people, we get the Natalie emergency contact power rankings. Okay. For the listeners, Kevin, first one obviously would have been Pete, but Pete's away on a trip. Number 1 on Natalie's power rankings when her water breaks is Sydney. Number 2, Carmi. 3, Marcus. 4, Richie, who says yo in his voicemail, which is so frustrating, but of course very Richie. And then Claire. So that's the top 5. Sydney, Carmi, Marcus, Richie, Claire, and then of course Donna at the very end. What did you think about that top 5? Yeah, any interesting thoughts there or opinions about that writing right there? Is that there's a hierarchy here?
Yeah, I mean, I interpreted it as sort of actually a very nice window into Natalie's character, right? Like my interpretation of those top 5 were the fact that she was going into labor would cause disruption for the people who rely on her at work. And her first calls needed to be to those people, letting them know that there would not be any paper towels, any C-folds being picked up, or they wouldn't make it. That would be, you need to know that there's some things that need to be, we're open, like it's the Super Bowl every day, right? As Richie likes to say. So, that was my interpretation. It was very much in character with a woman who in the bed said, I'm always asking everybody if they're all right. She is one of these people, often they're women, who essentially are selfless to the point of depriving themselves of fulfillment, right? They do everything for everybody. And she is one of those people. So that was my interpretation. It wasn't that, Sydney's it was that, hey, these people at the Bear rely on me. I'm one of the only things keeping that place afloat, right? I work with crazy chefs, unreliable line people, pleasant but somewhat incompetent mechanics and technicians. And I better call these people because I'm going to be out of pocket. And that my first thing to think about is that. That was my interpretation.
I was surprised that she didn't call Tina. I don't know. Like the mother in that room, in that kitchen, I thought that she would be the first call. Would be like, hey, Tina, I'm going into labor. I might need you. Here's what I've got the C folds. Can you help me? Because they do have a moment. I think they did talk to each other in the previous episode about childbirth or the story of Tina's delivery. But she's not on the list, and I was very surprised by that. But maybe she knows that she just doesn't have her phone with her at all times. And there is a moment where it was like, isn't there a landline at the Bear that she could call? But of course, the computer said no landline. Why do we have a landline when everything's online anyway?
Exactly.
And so maybe she would have reached someone if there was a landline in the end. But Carmi hasn't appeared in two of the last 3 episodes. I don't know. Now that you mentioned the whole budget thing and bottle thing, I'm now thinking more about that. Did they have a budget for 8 episodes and they had 10 and then they got to like figure out a way to make it work? And so that's why we're getting 0 Carmi here, 0 Sydney here at the final turn of season 3. It just seems like, man, we just don't have a lot of the central characters here in Sydney, and maybe we're going to get that in the final 2 episodes. I hope we get a lot more of that in the final 2 episodes. But this was number 6 on Hollywood Reporter. I'm surprised it was that high. Kevin, do you want to know what Hollywood Reporter's number 1 episode of The Bear was?
I'm going to guess, having not seen the list, that it's either Fishes or Forks.
I thought the same thing. It is not. It is the season 3 premiere.
That would have been my third choice. It is the most artful episode in the show, right? And I think that if that is what floats your boat, you're going to select that. And those 3 are kind of the trilogy for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's some upper episodes I've enjoyed, but really long, I don't know about you, Tom, but I'm finding myself just not retaining. Like I did the entire Mystery Mrs. Smith with, series this year on Amazon. Thoroughly enjoyed myself for 8 episodes. A week and a half later, I could barely remember anything. There are specific episodes of, Breaking Bad or 6 Feet Under. I can still 25 years later retain. And I think long after this show is off the air, I think those are the 3 episodes I will remember, right? One is sort of a self-contained, beautiful, I know I use the term stage play a lot, but that. Forks is just this wonderful exploration of character with some of the great monologues. I mean, I still think about the meeting scene in Forks, right? Like just like with the, the front of the house staff kind of all meeting. And then I think of the mood poem that is the season premiere. And those are the 3. And I think that I think that might explain a lot of what's going on in our frustration, because I think what the show has heard and the creators have heard is people are most fulfilled watching the show when they take big unorthodox swings, when they do a flashback bottle episode, gather these guest stars, Sarah Paulson and Bob Odenkirk and Jamie Lee Curtis and this one and that one and John Mulaney, who I love. It's when we do artistry along the lines of the premiere. So let's do more of that. Let's do more bottle episodes. Let's be more abstract. Let's get away from the material in favor of these sort of broader themes and specters. There's so much comedy in Fishes. Let's do more of that. The fact, like the world of the characters. These people who populate these people's lives. And I think that in some ways it's funny to hear you say, because I do think that is sort of what, to the extent that we're frustrated, the show has, you could say they learn the wrong lessons. No, I don't think they learned the wrong lessons. I think they learned the right lessons and maybe misapplied them a little bit. But I think that probably, in thinking about, okay, those are the 3 kind of iconic episodes of the show. Well, okay, so this is what we're getting.
I'm losing faith that maybe the Bear just doesn't have the meat, no pun intended, to propel the show forward. Maybe the writers are struggling with what are we going to do with the restaurant? Maybe do people care about the restaurant? Do we have enough of an arc with the restaurant that people are going to be invested in it? And that's why we're going to go down these character bottle episodes. Because I'm really worrying that maybe the Bear actually doesn't have that plot weight to it, that it's as rich as we thought it was going to be, is whether the Bear survives, whether it works, whether Sydney stays there. I thought that it would have a lot more momentum behind it. And we maybe we'll get that in 9 and 10. But Kevin, I'll just note that Joanna Kalo, who wrote this episode, also co-wrote the Fishes episode. So that generational trauma and the mother, the Donna, she has been writing Donna. And I really love Jamie Lee Curtis in this episode. The emotion, the laughter, just the all over the place that she brings in this episode. I thought it was great. Abby Elliott, I thought this was a strong episode for her because she's not really been a focal point of the show, and she gets her episode in the same way that Tina did a couple episodes ago. I didn't know this, but Abby Elliott is the daughter of Chris Elliott, who's the comedian who is on Saturday Night Live. She was on Saturday Night Live for a while. Schitt's Creek, Maze is saying. She's third generation Saturday Night Live, and I think it's the only third generation on Saturday Night Live before. And so Abby Elliott, not really in a comedic role here, aside when she's like yelling at her mom, like, are you fucking serious about my ass feels like dad's? This was a really good episode for acting purposes, really strong from both sides. I would say Jamie Lee Curtis is sensational. And you know what? I'm ready to get back to the bear.
Good news is, Tom, episode 9, which neither of us have watched yet, apologies, was written by Alex Russell, who wrote Forks. And this will be his first episode of the season as a writer, and his first episode since Forks. So if Forks is an indication of just anything, then this we might enjoy. And I predict, again, it's ridiculous to predict, especially since I imagine a lot of our listeners have kind of actually already worked through the entire series, I suspect we'll get back to the restaurant. And they certainly planted seeds. I know they're awaiting that review that still hangs over it.
Oh, right.
I'm looking forward to that. And again, I know both of us have been on the sort of, hey, let's move on wagon. But yeah, again, I think all of these moments are lovely. I do go back to the Zillerism, right? Like, I think, you can have successful scenes, you can have successful performances, you can have successful episodes in a vacuum that as a collective don't add up to a good season or album, as those tracks. But anyway, closing thoughts for you as we move on.
No, I think I hit everything. Again, I understand if you do not like ice chips, or it felt like I never want to watch this ever again. I get it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it moved me quite a bit in this episode. However, I don't have the selfish viewpoint of thinking that just because I liked it means that everybody else liked it. There's something intrinsically great about this episode. I think it hits certain notes for certain people, especially if you've had children before it. It hits a different way. So do I think it's a top 5 episode or top 6 episode of The Bear? I wouldn't put it up there, but I will be thinking about this episode among the highs of The Bear. I would say that this is more in that top 10 rather than top 5. But Kevin, I'm ready to get back to The Bear.
For Tom Avestro, for producer Anthony Mays, this is Kevin Arnovitz, and this is Pack Your Knives.